which aspect for intervention cardiologist more for the reference medicine?
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Dr. Saxena. Thank you so much.
People know I have heard that all the complications about venous procedures, maybe transplant or non transplant, is only done by him. He is extent therapeutic interventions in venous and peripheral limbs and everything. Cardiology also depend upon him for a lot of things. So that's what I'm to share with you.
Thanks,
Only a cardiologist.
Thanks, Dr. Gupta. Thanks, Dr. Saxena and Dr. Gupta for this glorious introduction. I'll initially thank the organizers of the meet for giving me this opportunity to be with you and share some thoughts with you. My special thanks to all of you who have spared your Saturday evening time to come and listen to me. I hope I'll justify the faith you have put in and the time you have invested to listen to. The first thing I will tell you, ischemic heart disease is one of the most common disease burden in our society, and not in our own society, across the world. Medical therapy remains the cornerstone of the treatment of this. There are very few patients who will require PTCA or coronary artery bypass. So by no means I am underscoring the importance of medical therapy. That remains the basic. I've just decided to pick some few niche segment which is I was advised. One is ultrasound guided PTCA. Why talk about it? Kidney disease has a high prevalence in our society. This disease has one of the highest incidence of coronary artery disease. Bypass surgery has multiple complications in the patients with kidney disease. These patients tend to not being referred for procedures. They avoid procedures because they are highly afraid of contrast-induced nephropathy, and they think that whatever kidney function they are left with will be spoiled. So a large number of patients are denied some treatment which will not only improve their quality of life, not only length of life, but also quality of life. So it's a great achievement. So one of these that these days the contrast is iso-osmolar isotonic. So there are techniques with which you can use very little contrast and do the angiography. We tend to postpone the PTCA for a few days depending how the kidney function is behaving, not do it the same setting. And if the angiography is done in our own hospital, we tend to pick same cath lab. The advantage, we don't need further dye for the road. So no further dye has been used. Next use of contrast comes when you engage the catheter and want to see whether catheter is engaged well. You can use it saline injection to see whether it is engaged well. I personally use floppy guide wire for that. Nutshell is no contrast has been used. Then comes your roadmap. As I said, you tend to use the same cath lab, so we don't need any contrast to get the roadmap. We tend to pick some SPQ or some radiological landmark from the roadmap. Actually, I personally do angioplasty only in very tightly diseased, very severely diseased vessels, because till date there is no evidence that if you do angioplasty in an artery, in a major artery, first it should be a major artery, second it should be very critical stenosis. Non-critical stenosis or treating small arteries are lower. So we tend to pick some SPQ which you can see without contrast, or some other radiological marker, and use a thin, less diameter roadmap. Now you have a way and you can start the ultrasound vascular catheter. Can you just run that AVI file? Just one problem with this, somehow the diagram, the DICOM files are not working, so I will not be able to show you most of the picture. This is how intravascular. So what we do, we pass the intravascular ultrasound catheter inside the coronaries, and it gives images like this. With this, we can see everything: what's the length of disease, the stenosis, what length we need to treat, what should be the length of stent and where to implant it. I'm sorry that DACOM was not working here, so we have to resort to it. I'll not be able to show you the most of the pictures which we have got. I'm sorry about that. Presentation which I did. So PowerPoints. Thank you. So we have seen that so far we have dilated, we have gone with the ultrasound loop catheter, intravascular ultrasound catheter, and we have not used even a drop of contrast. So once the IVUS catheter has been passed through the lesion, it will tell we need in an ordinary angioplasty, we'll give contrast indication to see if any further balloon dilatation is or we want to do anything else to prepare the intravascular ultrasound is much better than the luminogram which CME. So we have much better thing that whether we need to do another balloon dilatation to prepare the. It will also tell us calcium dissection and hematomas, which the contrast angiography will do. So till now we have not used a drop. We can also see what should be the size, diameter, and length of it from this. This is much better than contrast. Fluoro movement, this movement of ultrasound catheter is targeted and gated with the movement in the fluoro screen. That screen tells where we should land the catheter. So we don't need the radiological contrast where we should land the stent, sorry, catheter, where we should land the stent. Then we have got where we need to optimally deploy the stent, we deploy the stent. Please note, not even a drop of contrast has been used. Then we re-implant the same intravascular to see if we need to optimize the result achieved further and no further is whether if any further step is needed. If nothing is needed, then yes, we have got very good result. Once again, I'll tell you, this is much better than the luminogram, the contrast. Till this time, we have not used even a drop of contrast. One last step, we are forced just 2.5 ml contrast injection. But we seem to have entered a phase in our lives where there seem to be lawyers practicing medicine, the number of physicians practicing medicine. And just for record, we give 1 point. We just give a 2.5 ml injection just to record that we have got it. Just can you show those two pictures? Unfortunately, DACOM once again, no join. So, same roadmap we have selected. It's the LED from left main to LED. Remember, the LED supplies nearly 60% of the heart. It's loosely called widowmaker's artery because it's the most important one. After this, we have been, this is from the earlier angiogram, we have all this is how we were getting through. And this is the last one which we had recorded because of 2.5 ml contrast. So, and it's all gone from left main to mid LED, it's all gone. So we can assume that come with if you're creating this so in nutshell, such niche procedure is a great use for patients with kidney disease, patients who have diabetes of some duration. They are rare patients who have contrast. You can ask why not do it in each and every patient. Don't use it in each and every patient because of few reasons. Number one, it adds cost to the patient. Whenever we are working in India, cost always works in the back of our mind that we have to keep the cost down. So number one reason we add cost. Number two, it adds time, and then you have to analyze the intravascular ultrasound images which take time. Contrast injection analysis don't take time. So this was one niche segment. One niche segment, see, traditionally left main disease has been always been given that once you have been diagnosed to have left main disease, you have to have coronary artery bypass. Because PTCA had two limitations. One was restenosis, and second was thrombosis in coronary stent. The newer generation of stents have reduced restenosis to a very low single digit. If you use a good quality newer stent, the restenosis is very rare. Stent thrombosis at the same time is very rare because the new polymers that are being used is a bio-friendly polymers. So today, even the complex left main with associated right, we are able to offer and do PTCA even in distal level. I want you to note it's not a blanket statement because before offering it, we have to assess many things, especially the left main to LED mismatch, left main to sun mismatch, and sometimes very dirty equipment. So it's not blanket statement, but yes, there is a large number of patients who happen to have left main disease and right. Third was patients with calcified coronaries were condemned for coronary artery bypass. The days are not the same. We have technologies. One was the old one, recreational therapy. We also have a new one, which is the lithotripsy technology has come in. We can use intravascular shock wave therapy or intravascular lithotripsy to treat it. Personally, I use rotablator because it's more controlled, can be used for very tight lesion, gives much better results and far better, cheaper than IVL. IVL catheter costs more than 2.5 lakhs per day. That becomes it's still cheaper and much better. So that's the other. Our surgeons are also advancing. It's not only that the cardiology is advancing in our hospital. I want to just tell a few things. Heart failure will remain a very big disease burden in any society of the planet, any human society of the planet. Heart failure will remain a big burden. It is a progressive disease. Medical therapy still remains the best form of therapy because if properly administered, there are many patients who will slowly and slowly recover and be to normal. It's a great advantage because now this patient doesn't need transplant, he has his own heart, no further therapy, cheaper, better than any form of treatment. So I want to restate, I'm not saying that medical therapy should not be given. It should be tried as first line, do it judiciously, but there are a lot of patients who will fail. They will not improve. And then these patients will be condemned very early death. There are two ways it should be. The gold standard is heart transplant. As we all know, we talked earlier today that meeting that organ availability remains a problem. It's a special problem in our society because cadaveric donors fails to pick up in our society for some reason. So it remains a very big. The other modality is left with, but there are many types of artificial hearts. Commonest being used all across the world is left ventricular assist therapy because at the end of the day, heart is just a pump which has been designed by nature to supply blood to the heart, blood to the rest of our body. And if you see the heart lines are there, so from left ventricle left ventricle being conduced to aorta. I have brought an actual left ventricular right. See it later. It can be implanted because there are patients where you cannot offer the heart transplant. So this remains the therapy. It gets implanted here, connected to aorta, wire gets standard like this, and then he has to rechargeable battery which he has in the belt of the lady, hangs it in the shoulder, and they can walk around and do whatever it is. They can have shower with it. swim with it, whatever. We can live normal life. It's used both as a bridge to transplant and as a destination as well, of course. Because heart transplant, biggest problem is availability of heart. So, but once again, I want to say that transplant is gold standard and nothing beats medical therapy if you have used it judiciously. One more thing I will like to tell, one of the very big problem with transplant or LVAD program in our society is that patients are either referred too early. There are very few such patients, but then we tell them, no, go back. First try at least few months of medical therapy. But the much bigger problem is, remember, once the right ventricular failure has gone, left ventricular failure will actually transmit. Left ventricular failure will eventually transmit all the pressure to the right heart. And this right heart failure will eventually result in the liver failure, kidney failure. And once there is so much damage to the vital organs, now taking this patient to heart is no use. Now, many patients, most of the patients come to us, come at this stage, and when we tell them that we somehow create a very sorry picture, they say, we are going to be told about it. So that's something I want to know, that don't point in referring to it. Once you have tried medical therapy for a few months, 6 months, you see it's not improved. That's not going to improve. And every congestive heart failure therapy, you may be able to discharge him after diuretic therapy. But the chances of death goes on exponentially high. One more thing I would like to tell our surgeons. In our society, the valvular heart disease remains a big problem. For some reason, in our society, bicuspid aortic valve is very common. So we have very high incidence of aortic disease. Because of this bicuspid aortic valve disease, we have much younger patients than they are there in the West. We have all had experience with the prosthetic valve. The surgeons have been implanting it very long time, but the prosthetic valve person is condemned to very long life with warfarin or acetylcholine, whichever drug you have failed. No health. The problem is these anticoagulants are made in liver. They have a very short half-life. If you go back to our earlier method, the liver people can, it's a very good test. INR is a good test to see acute liver problem. So till date, nobody has been able to find out a very good way to optimize these therapies. Patients bleed, patients embolize. So bleeding and embolization have been a big problem. Surgeons have moved more and more to bioprosthesis. These bioprostheses have been translated to, we are implanting the aortic and mitral valve through catheters. But again, very big dilemma comes specifically to our society because of two reasons. A, bicuspid aortic valve. B, we have many patients who do not have very large aortic. So patients will be condemned, especially if he's having surgery first, to say, you must have seen when that is a number 19 valve. A natural valve, the valve ring is specific, the fibrous ring is the basic housing. But once you give artificial one, there has to be a ring. So the valve area is further reduced, and this patient is doomed if it's a prosthetic valve, doomed for rest of his life. Only alternative is if the surgeon does aortic root enlargement operation. Our surgeons have mastered this, and we are routinely doing aortic root enlargement. So that should be the starting point. There's another niche segment which we have developed. I'm sorry I couldn't show you the audiovisual files. It didn't work. Before I close, I'd like to tell you one of the very basic fundamental principles for working as a physician in our society. One is the patients which we have seen very common and creating problem. Patients present with acute chest symptoms. We have a very high prevalence of coronary disease. I'll give you one example. In Merseyside in UK, member of parliament presented to hospital. Cardiologist did the first ECG. He thought everything is fine. Said it's all hunky-dory. nothing wrong, you go home. He took a taxi home. Taxi driver on the way realized that his passenger has collapsed. He brought him back to the hospital. Patient was declared dead in hospital. It happened within half an hour of him telling him go back here, nothing. It was complained and General Medical Council in UK gave that cardiologist a lifeline, deregistration. I just want to tell you one thing. There's no healthcare system in the world which will allow them to be as capital as that. What's your other choice? You keep the patient for 3 days, no ECG changes for 3 days, no engine changes for 3 days. There's no healthcare system in this world which will allow you to be as conservative as that. So any patient with symptoms in chest, suspicion of acute COVID, observe him for a few hours. Do some ECG, maybe do a second. Be cautious, then be cavalier. That's my first message. And second, again, as a practicing physician in our society, we must see that we ensure in our patient population importance of giving up use of tobacco, cutting alcohol, dietary control, exercise, adhere to anti-platelet statin, and keep the immunity low. Because without this, we have failed as a physician for our society. Thank you for your time, and I'm sorry I couldn't see without visual slides. And then anyone wants to see your, I have an actual